This week, Bob Erdman from Core Security is with us to discuss automation and pen testing. Then Justin Tolman from Extero joins us to talk about forensic challenges for security professionals. Finally, in the enterprise security news, deep breath, Thoma Bravo acquires SailPoint, KKR acquires Barracuda, Kaseya acquires Datto, Tufin may be getting acquired. They get 30 days to think about it. Perfor Software acquires Puppet, Help System acquires Terra Nova Security, and there's some funding announcements, but lots and lots and lots of acquisitions. Password protections for crypto wallets, simulating malware to test endpoint security, and thinking about the future of InfoSec. All that and more on this episode of Enterprise Security Weekly.
This is Security Weekly, for security professionals, by security professionals. Broadcasting live from G-Unit Studios in Rhode Island, it's the show where we talk security vendors and aren't afraid to name names. It's Enterprise Security Weekly. Workloads protected by VMware are the safest workloads in the multi-cloud. Private cloud, public cloud, any cloud. Stronger, with distributed protection to the API and everything east-west, inside, and cross-cloud. Stronger, with 3 layers of detection, trusting nothing and seeing everything, even the best hidden bad actors. Stronger, with an SE Labs AAA certified advanced NDR that brings the multi-cloud together for the win. You've got workloads, we've got security. VMware Security. Simply stronger. Visit securityweekly.com/VMware to learn more. Imagine this scenario. You're out of the office unexpectedly, and a colleague pings you because they need access to some system you have credentials for. Now, my listeners would never send passwords over email or Slack. But what about your coworkers? How many organizations out there are sending logins back and forth in plain text? Worse yet, how many just store all of their logins on a shared spreadsheet? Keeper Security's password management platform locks down logins, payment cards, and more in a patented zero-knowledge encrypted vault. Sign up for a Keeper free trial today. Visit securityweekly.com/Keeper.
Welcome to Enterprise Security Weekly, and happy National Pecan Day. This is episode 269, recorded on Thursday, April 13th, 2022. I'm your host, Adrian Sanabria, and joining me today is Katie Teitler. How are you, Katie?
I am well, but it's actually April 14th.
Oh, got me. Why did I write 13th?
It's okay. It's all right. Nobody's going to remember a day from now. It's not that important.
That's you should always
except that April 14th is my dog's birthday, so that's important.
Right. Yeah, it's always have co-hosts that are not afraid to correct you.
I just wanted to make sure that people listening also didn't get confused. I easily get confused these days as to which day it is. So.
Yeah, same here. So I'm in the last month of planning for B-Sides Knoxville. And it's on May 13th, subtle plug, and tickets are available now. But yeah, yesterday was a month out, and that's always kind of like the hair on fire. Like, what have we forgotten? What have we not yet ordered? We're getting close to the deadline on for the conference.
Yeah, this is sort of the crunch time, and if you've forgotten it, you still have a window. But not a big window. Once you get to a week or two out, and then you can just say, there's nothing I can do anymore. What's done is done.
Yeah. If you want personalized badges, lanyards, stuff like that, like a month out is, you should be, that should be tomorrow. But first physical conference, in-person conference for us since 2019. We did 2 virtual conferences because of the pandemic. So this is a big one. We actually selected a new venue and brought on some new organizers that all thought they were going to be helping to plan an in-person conference. And they've now been with us for 3 years now and haven't yet. So it's going to be interesting. Well, I'm happy we're going back to in-person. I miss it.
It'll be fun. There's a lot coming up. I think a lot of people are very happy that in-person is happening. I think that there's going to be a massive rush for everybody to go to in-person conferences and see everybody. Probably a year from now, we're going to be back to where we were in 29, thinking, all right, can I be home for 5 minutes? Do I have to go to all of these in-person things? But for now, I think everybody's pretty excited to get back out there, see people in person, and find a little more normalcy.
Yeah, June, July, August is insane with conferences. Everything ended up stacked on top of one another. RSA is at the same time as Gartner's Risk, and I forget exactly what they call the conference. But FIRST is going on.
Security and Risk Summit.
Yeah, there you go. FIRST is going on over in Dublin, I think. You've got Black Hat and DEF CON. You've got AWS's Reinforce, I think. And on and on and on and on.
Yeah.
There's so many conferences going on in just that, like a 6-week period.
Yeah. Yeah, we're taking a divide and conquer approach because there's no way the whole team, sales, marketing, product can be at every conference. There's just no way, because Gartner and RSA are literally the same dates. And then I think InfoSec Europe overlaps by either
that one.
Just a couple of dates. So 3 major conferences happening right on top of each other. And then, like you said, coattails is boom, 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 boom. So
how do you feel about pecans?
I don't mind them. I am hoping the handshake dies, but I was hoping the handshake died well before COVID was even a thing. I think we can go to conferences and say hello to people without shaking each other's hands. A little bit of a germaphobe. But that aside, it'll be good to get back to in-person, and hopefully people will bring some lessons learned from the past couple of years. We've certainly seen some big shifts, and it'll be nice to see some old faces, because we really haven't, except for our immediate communities, in a couple of years now.
Now I'm curious as to what you think I said, because I said pecans as in like pecan pie.
I thought you said the space cons.
Oh, the cons. I can see that. Okay.
All right. Okay. So you got me back on that one too. Pecans. Love pecans. I just had the most delicious sticky bun from Flower Bakery in Cambridge the other day.
Good use of pecans. That.
Very good use of pecans. They also, not that I eat too much or anything, they also had a delicious cinnamon roll with a chai icing. So 2 thumbs up, highly recommend. Pecans as well as in-person cons.
Go together like sweet bread and nuts. I don't know. All right, let's move on.
Eating a sticky bun and then shaking somebody's hands at a conference, not recommended.
Yeah, no, not at all. It's okay if people still want to do fist bumps, especially if they see you licking your fingers right before. Yeah. All right, we have an announcement here. Join Alan, and I'm going to take another stab at his last name here. You can see it on the screen there. You can just say his name is Alan. He has a very Greek-looking last name, and hosts Tyler Robinson and Paul Asadorian on April 21st. Join them to learn how to gain visibility into your enterprise with Sysmon, very popular tool among defenders. Also join Paul Asadorian and Rich Mogul on May 4th to learn how to choose the right architecture for your application. Live attendees at both of these webcasts will have the chance to win a $100 Hacker Warehouse gift card. Register at securityweekly.com/webcast. Don't forget to check out our library of on-demand webcasts and technical trainings at securityweekly.com/on-demand. And for those listening and not watching any video version of this, we do throw up some details there. You can always visit the show notes and check it out from there, or just the URL that I mentioned. All right, so for our first interview today, it is sponsored by Core Security, a help systems company. And today we're talking about the role of automation in pen testing, something I'm personally very excited about, a topic that I am no stranger to. I've actually given some talks on this topic in the past. And we're excited to have Bob Erdman, Director of Development for Help Systems' ever-growing portfolio of cybersecurity solutions, which include Core Security, Cobalt Strike, Digital Defense, Beyond Security, and many more, including one that we're going to talk about in the news today because they just announced yet another one. Welcome, Bob.
Thank you. Really happy to be here. It's always great to get a chance to talk to the community.
Yeah, no, and it's a great topic for it as well. And first off, I've got to say, I've got to comment again on all the acquisitions here. Help System seems like it's building an absolute monster of a security company here, which isn't bad for a company that wasn't widely known outside the AS400 software market until maybe 2018, 2019.
No, I think you hit that about right. That would be not too long after I joined. And you're correct, it was very well known in AS400 land. We were just really getting started with our Linux, Unix security pivot and really starting to build that solution set around being a holistic security company. And as we continue to grow and expand our portfolio, being able to tie that in with our expertise in automation, which is kind of the other half that went along with IBMI, is the large automation footprint we have as we start working more towards that, autonomous security and being able to deliver positive security changes in a faster manner to help people keep up with the malicious activity.
Yeah. So let's jump into the topic here. So traditional pen testing, I've done this in my background, did some pen testing, and again, something that I've given a lot of talks about, I've given a lot of thought about. I was actually involved with the PTES, the Penetration Testing Execution Standard, when we put that methodology together, which I think people still use, though. It might be getting kind of old in the tooth. But, there's this kind of traditional flow that a pen test goes through. And, I think part of the problem is you would see individual pen testers would take it upon themselves to make themselves be more efficient. But you would have this inconsistency within a lot of pen testing firms where the quality of your pen test and how efficient it is, and in the given amount of time that you've hired this pen tester for, there's only so much that they can get done. It's very point in time, and it's very, based on whatever they can get to in that amount of time is kind of what you get. And yeah, if that really efficient pen tester that's written a bunch of automation and stuff like that, they've got scripts, happens to line up with your schedule when you hired that firm, then maybe you get that pen tester. If it doesn't line up, maybe you don't. So, I think it's a really interesting topic of, getting some consistency when you hire outside firms. But obviously there's internal use cases for pen testing as well here, right, Bob?
Yes, we certainly see that. And I think there's still a camp of individuals that really think automation in the pen testing process is a bit of a dirty word and they don't really like it. But more and more now we're seeing people jump into having more automation in the things that they're doing. And we don't really see it as ever being a full replacement for a smart set of hands on a keyboard. It's really much more of a force multiplier and allowing you to be more efficient, do more things more consistently, as you said, be able to tackle bigger engagements. And even if you have junior team members, being able to let them accelerate a little quicker in what they're able to do for the group and how they're able to make things happen, and then be able to pass those off again to larger and larger team members as we go along. And we see automation being used all across the process. And like I said, even if you weren't using a commercial tool for automation, many testers have already written their own tools to do automation at different steps, right from the beginning with fingerprinting, going out and interrogating social media, kind of building that initial knowledge base to help us determine what our targets are, down to mapping the network, looking for things, maybe even pulling in vulnerability scans to use as initial places to go try and get a foothold.
Yeah. And I don't know how much you want to talk about your specific products, but one of the tools in Help Systems portfolio that it got with Core Security is Core Impact. Certainly, I think the name of a tool that any experienced pen tester would probably be familiar with. Like there are just a handful of these exploit frameworks that have been widely used by pen testers.
Mm-hmm. Yes, I think Core Impact's really a great tool and has some really well-targeted automation capabilities. It never takes away the ability for you as a manual tester to go in, I want to do this right now type of mode. But as we look all the way across how that product works, initially as you're setting up a test, it allows you to use a couple of different frameworks to do fingerprinting and go out and determine what assets are available on the network to target. The automation inside will then be able to go out and take a look at what are possible ways that we might exploit these assets that we've seen. If I see a Linux box or a Windows box or a certain service or port, what is most likely the thing that I want to try first to help step people through that process? And then if you want to, you can go full initial remote rapid penetration test and just really turn the tool loose. Say, here's a range of IPs. I want you to be noisy. I want you to be quiet. I want you to look at full set of ports, targeted set of ports, do a little bit of tuning around that and just hit go. And the tool can run out and do that initial look at what it sees, make some initial determinations at what you're able to go and attempt to exploit remotely or locally, and then be able to move deeper and pivot from there. If you are a vuln scanner user, and if people come to engage us as a service, we certainly hope that they're doing a vuln scan first. And if they're not, we'll definitely recommend that. You can use those vulnerability scans as input feeds and feed that into Core Impact and let us pivot on that scan and go out and either use that as part of a pen testing engagement, or more and more now we're seeing more often people just want to take that and validate that vuln scanner information. What really is risky? What can we easily penetrate based on those vulnerabilities to help determine what do we have to deal with first? What's the biggest risk to our business? And then the beauty of some of the tools like Core Impact then is when I've done my work, I've done my remediation steps, I could turn around and just hit the retest button. And we can replay the whole sequence of whatever was done in the past to give you that diff of what did you actually fix, what is still actually an open hole where somebody could be attacking you.
Yeah, definitely. I think using an exploit framework to validate vulnerabilities is definitely one way that you can prioritize that stuff. And almost 100% of the companies that I talk to still very much need a way to cut down on the noise and prioritize the vulnerabilities they have. I think we had a question here, Katie.
Yeah, I did have a question. You were talking a little bit about vulnerability scans as inputs. I think that's great. There are so many pieces of vulnerability management that have to come together to get a complete picture. But then correlating back to something you said earlier about companies not fully trusting automated pen testing, I think you're absolutely right. This automated pen testing is a force multiplier, not a replacement. But do you have any data for people who are still hesitant? Because I think there will, just like any other technology, always be people who are thinking, well, okay, we do have vulnerability scanning. We know that's incomplete. We have this type of technology. It's incomplete. So there's going to be some hesitation, but what kind of data or evidence do you have for those people to move the needle forward toward more acceptance of it? Because, I think this is great, but you're always going to have people who are saying, well, show me the data.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so we've definitely built some good white papers and best practice recommendations as we see it, and how you can use some of these tools to work better together. Even stepping past Core Impact to more of the next step in the process on the red teaming side. And we do use that data internally ourselves as well. So some of the companies you listed from Help Systems are actually vulnerability scanners. We have more than one of those now, which is always fun. You get to learn lots of new things. But being able to affect the risk scoring inside of those reports based on the data coming back from Core Impact to show, just because CVSS is a 10, is that really a 10 to you? It doesn't matter to you because I can't get to it. There's remediation, there's mitigations around it protecting me from that. So as we built out some of these best practice white papers on how we see that part of the world and how we think that people could make use of these different tools, we think we've had some pretty good results that way, and being able to show the way to have everything that's out there like this work better together to enhance that overall security posture.
What are some of the types of companies who are the early adopters who are jumping in more readily than maybe some others?
Definitely a lot of things around the regulated industry type area. So we're talking government, utilities, financial types, insurance. So where you're seeing that there is a heavy compliance requirement around having either pen testing, vulnerability scanning, many times both, as part of the standards that they have to meet to stay inside of their compliance regimes. So that's a lot of times who we'll see jumping in first. Many times we're also seeing these types of things for smaller pen testing companies. We do market this tool to other people doing pen testing as a service, essentially, consultants and testing agencies. And if they are trying to scale up their business, or they may be bringing on newer staff and they want to have some consistency across all of their staff members, they can make use of tools like Core Impact to, as we said, be a force multiplier in there, have consistency in methodologies, consistency in the back end as well, reporting, which is a huge spot for automation that we haven't really touched on, and then being able to spread that out to all of the clients that they're engaging with. So not just internal teams, but also people just doing this as their business.
So one of the things that often comes up with automation is, there's generally a nervousness about, potential collateral damage and stuff that can happen when fully automating things. So I guess I've got a couple questions, that could break down into. One of them is it just, the equivalent of what I think in Metasploit you'd call autopwn, I think is the command where you, give me a list of the vulnerabilities, and if I have any, I do a CVE match or something like that, and if I have any exploits that match it, we'll see if they work. Or there are other opportunities to automate here, maybe in the discovery process, or maybe you don't need to run an exploit to validate a vulnerability. Are there opportunities, in other words, for automation that are a little less hair-raising if you're pointing this tool at a production environment?
A little less smash and grab. Yes, and we think we've given a lot of good ways to do that. There are a lot of user level controls on using the automation if you're going to be going down that path of, I want to do the rapid penetration test style of engagement. It's not just the limit of the IP ranges that I want to see, but that is an important one, is here's the limit of the IP ranges I want to go out and actually look at, or here's even an individual server. I just want to go and hit a system individually. Everything is defaulted to the essentially more of a safer mode. There are some things that we know are going to have possible service knockdowns, possible denial of service conditions. Those are highly called out, and those are opt-in type of features during the automation. So you have to decide, kind of what level of engagement you want it to do, what ports and services that you might want it to engage with, whether they're external only, internal included, what level of poking that you want us to do on those different ports. Is it more, like you said, just validate that you think this vulnerability exists? We saw the indicator that looks like this thing is vulnerable, rather than trying to actually pass through that with an exploit. So there are a lot of stop gaps available to help tune that to the level of what the business would like to do. And and as I said, it's not that everybody just hits a button and walks away. Generally, if somebody does that, it's much more the beginning of their test, so they can do that initial scan and be very targeted about what they're going after. And then as you step deeper and deeper into the test, you can again take some targeted automation steps to do local information gathering, to try and enumerate a network that was behind another segment. So it gives you a lot of checkpoints where you can make sure that you're being safe for what your business would like you to accomplish. But the great thing about it is you're getting a full audit trail. So if you are doing manual or automation, every action is audited, because we not only want to be able to say that we did this, we also want to be able to say that we didn't do something else. So if there is a problem somewhere, you can you can show that you did not touch that asset, you did not touch that service, and then all of that again is rolled up and available in the after engagement reporting.
Gotcha. We are hearing a little bit of a problem where we're losing some of your words every now and then. Maybe that's just on my end. It doesn't sound like a bandwidth type thing, almost like a loose cable type thing. I'm not sure if there's anything you could do about that on your side.
I will try and reseat my headphone and see if that works better.
Okay. And Gus, Katie, is it the same for you guys? Are you missing words here and there, or is?
I'm getting a little bit of flashing. I assumed it was just.
Because I know there's a chance that maybe it's just my.
I didn't assume it was him. I figured it was Skype.
Okay. All right. All right. One question I had about, Core Impact specifically, it's been a long time since I've seen it, and, I think one feature I'm a fan of is the, especially with automation, I guess, if you've got multiple people working within the environment, is that something that's supported now where there's the ability to collaborate, to leave comments, notes, divide up work, that kind of workflow within the tool?
It is supported. We do support teaming mode inside of Core Impact. So if you do have a team of individuals that want to work within the same workspace and be engaged with the same assets and the same things that you're doing, we fully support you doing that as a group. Many times we'll see that being used with different skill sets. So maybe I take off as a more junior person. I work on the fingerprinting, the initial access, trying to lay out what we see inside of the land, and then we hand that off to our maybe more senior people that are going to take over the manual mode, the very much targeted interactions that they're going to do, and then possibly passing that off between different areas in the test. So maybe network versus your web guys and your client side people, maybe different groups, and you can all be handing that tool set off and working inside of the same set of information as you're going about your business. So after I'm done with my network piece, maybe I'm going to hand that off to the client side team that are going to do some phishing attacks, and then pass that off to the web application testers who are now going to go out and enumerate against the different web applications that the company is offering.
Yeah, and you do have a few resources you gave us, with some more details on pen test automation, and there were a few different use cases that I liked, that I noted here. I like the leveraging automation to help get new folks up to speed. Help them understand how a lot of this stuff works. Definitely easier with a tool that can kind of guide you through the process rather than, going on packet storm security back in the day, looking for, who knows who wrote this bit of Perl or Python or whatever. And back in the old days, it was a bit shady, a bit awkward to grab an exploit. Like you wouldn't want a newbie running any of that code without being able to understand what's in there and giving a full audit. But I like that one. I like the compliance one as well. Because compliance is it's necessary. But the quicker you can get it done and out of the way and focus more on security and risk, I think that's not a bad thing, right?
Yeah, we really didn't touch on the exploits, but that is an important point, that the exploits inside of Core Impact, they're developed internally in-house. They're tested. There's a regular QA cycle run against them. We can tell you what they're going to do positively, what they're not going to do. If we see them as being dangerous or not dangerous to these services if you're trying to run them against production. You don't necessarily get that just bringing things down, from somewhere on the open internet. While you certainly can pull in Metasploit and augment things from Metasploit if you want to, versus the things that we've built. It is great that we have that dedicated team that all they do is create exploitation activity for the product. And then as we look at the back end on the compliance side, reporting of your test is a very necessary piece, even though it's long and ugly many times to get that work done. And having all of the different reporting options based on the testing data set that you've provided being automatically available really helps to make that a much quicker and a much more efficient process. I finish my test, I can print my executive report, I can print a report mapping against MITRE, I can print the same data set mapping against NIST, and I can print the full detail audit log to hand over to the compliance team. And all of that happens from the one test that I did off the same data set. It makes it very quick and efficient to do those things.
Yeah, and then another one of the points you make that really resonated with me was balancing the human element. You were saying, it makes sense to get hands-on, but so much of it can be automated. I remember one of the talks that I gave about pen testing, I kind of broke down what you're paying for when you hired a pen tester, and it's a tiny, tiny fraction that's actual pen testing. You're paying them to write this report on the back end. On the front end, you're often paying them to run a vulnerability scanner. Like if they could just show up and, the vulnerability scan is done, they can just decide, what approach they're going to take to try and exploit things or to try and get in. It's not always driven by a vulnerability scan in a lot of cases with pen tests, especially red teams. They don't necessarily go the software exploitation route, but be so much more efficient, if you just, just thinking to myself when I was giving that talk, if I just came in and said, hey, hand me your latest vulnerability scan and we can get this done a whole lot quicker, like mine's not necessarily going to be better than yours. Why not just leverage what's already there? And obviously automation or on the documentation side, I think we've seen a lot of good work there. There's open source tools out there. A lot of products now help to automate the reporting side of it.
Yeah, and even the interactions with the red teaming side, we see Impact very much as a penetration testing tool. It's got a different function than what a lot of times the red teams are using, and they're going to slide much more into the Cobalt Strike type of camp. And we've built interoperabilities between those different tools now. So just as we on the front side can bring in information and pass information back to vulnerability scanners, we now on the other side of the house can bring in information and pass sessions back and forth with a red teaming tool like Cobalt Strike. And that allows us to, again, be more efficient as an overall security team to handle all of the different scenarios that we need to deal with inside of our company or inside of our engagements that we're getting paid for.
Yeah, I forgot to mention that you guys have Cobalt Strike as well, and that does have integration with Core Impact, right?
It does. We can session pass between the two. I think a lot of people don't really know that there are no exploits inside of Cobalt Strike. It's not going to pop a box for vulnerability. And many times people will use Metasploit or they'll use something like Core Impact, where we can hand back and forth. We can reach a spot inside of the engagement and then pass off a session to a Cobalt Strike, deploy a beacon, deploy shell code. Cobalt Strike can do its thing. You can pass that session back in, and Impact can take back over again and work on getting that next foothold on that next piece of the network. Beyond our own tools, we integrate with tons of external sources, Burp Suite, lots of scanners, Bloodhound. So all kinds of different things that we're using to help engage those different groups and be able to make everything more efficient overall, all the way down to the end reporting with a tool like PlexTrack.
Oh, nice. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, integrations are certainly nice for that kind of thing. And yeah, so I guess, Cobalt Strike is more implants in C2 and lateral movement, that sort of thing, right?
Yes, much more of that assumed breach type of model, where you're trying to do lateral movement, stealthy, not being caught, and act more like an APT, long-time adversary, where Core Impact we're doing a pen test and we're going to be pretty noisy, even at, not really noisy settings, because you are going out and enumerating, if you want to see everything that you should see to make the business more secure, you want to be pretty noisy about doing it. You want to find all the ports, you want to find all the services, you want to do your best to penetrate everything you can penetrate to be able to hand that information back on what needs to be fixed. It's a bit of a different engagement than when we're trying to, really test the blue team with a APT style long-term engagement with Cobalt Strike and see where we can sneak around the network and what we can get to. So we usually see impact first, and then we'll see the Cobalt Strike type teams afterwards.
Yeah, and I think when I zoom out overall, I think automation for me, when I think about pen test automation, a lot of it's about automating the things that can be automated so you can be more efficient, focus on the things that matter. And I think for internally, for a company leveraging pen test automation internally, it really helps them mature a bit more quickly, I think, assuming that you can actually fix the things that these tools are finding in a reasonable time frame, and then, when you do hire in an external firm, maybe you don't look like Swiss cheese, you get a lot more value out of that, the external expert who comes in to try and find the issues that the automated tools couldn't, right?
Yes, it's not only identifying what needs to be fixed, is trying to help you determine what's most important to fix first. Because not only is there this vulnerability that's been identified, if we exploit that, there's all of this gooey underbelly that we can get to afterwards to help you move that up your risk score and bring that up to the attention of the things that you really need to do. So like I said, we're trying to help you do what matters most to make yourself the most secure that you can be.
Yeah. Anything else you want to mention that we didn't touch on this topic, Bob?
I think just really, like you said, we want to advocate for automating what we can to make ourselves more efficient. So there's a lot of great places that we can make use of targeted automation inside of the different things that we're trying to do, make ourselves more efficient, more consistent, make sure that steps aren't being missed and that everything's being documented. And I think, Core Impact is a great tool for that. We're seeing lots of new features all the time being added to it, graphical network mapping and different things like that as we keep moving that product forward. So it's changed a lot since the old days.
Yeah. Very cool. Well, thank you for that, Bob, and thank you for joining us on Enterprise Security Weekly today.
Thank you for having me.
Make sure you visit securityweekly.com/core security to learn more. And stay tuned. When we come back, we're going to talk forensic challenges for security professionals with Justin Tolman from Extero.